When I was recovering from burnout, I worked with a number of therapists for several years and also read a lot of self-help books. They all helped me immensely to understand my patterns, my identity, how I kept recreating burnout. But over and over, I kept hearing the same thing. They'd say, you should reconnect with your creativity. I remember thinking at the time, okay, sure, that sounds great, but it's been so long, I have no idea where to actually begin. Before we dive in, I would just like to say hello and welcome. I'm Janet, architect turned creative renewal coach and watercolor artist. I founded Blueprint to Brushstrokes to support mid to late career creative souls who've experienced burnout and depletion and are ready to stop the cycle to rebuild a sustainable and joy-filled creative life. This video is part of my starter series for the stage where the desire to create is there, but the starting point isn't clear for you yet. I've also linked a companion blog below if you'd like to sit with this more slowly after the video. I want to say this clearly. Therapy and self-development work were essential for me and my recovery. They helped me understand burnout, recognize my internal pattern, and reconnect with parts of myself I had quieted for a long time. And that awareness mattered. But there was still a moment that kept repeating. After the session ended, or after finishing the book, I would go back into my life and think, what does be creative actually look like now? What should I draw? How much time should I spend? What if I feel tired today? What if nothing comes? Where do I even start? There was no clear entry point. And this is the part that often gets missed. Understanding yourself, your patterns, doesn't automatically translate to knowing how to begin. And over time, I realized something that now shapes the work I do. Creativity doesn't come back through insight alone. It returns through contact, small, grounded moments of actually making something. As I shared in an earlier video, creativity tends to stay accessible even in busy times when there are simple ways of returning to it. But before we even get there, we need a clear starting point. More specifically, if you don't know where to begin, it is usually because something earlier hasn't yet fallen into place. You're trying to start before clearing, before noticing. Before we can create again, we often need to clear some of the pressure and the mental clutter and learn to observe what's actually in front of us. We don't need to plan a huge new project, nor do we need to decide everything all at once. We just need to return to something simple and specific. So, if you're in that place right now where you understand more but don't quite know how to begin, I want to offer you a simple starting point. I call this creative exercise the one object, one decision practice. If you're able, grab a sketchbook. The first step is to choose one object in front of you, just something that's already there. Next, set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes. Then, begin drawing it simply. No composition, no rearranging, no restarting. Keep going until the timer ends. Then, stop, wherever you get to, even if it looks unfinished, even if it feels awkward. Okay, I admit I find this last part really hard, and I'm not one for super rigid rules. So, if it feels bucket filling for you to finish, then do so. I certainly don't want you to lose sleep or get stressed out because the sketch isn't finished. So, how does this exercise work? This practice removes two of the biggest barriers to starting. The first is decision overload. What should I draw? The second is expectation. It should be good. What's left is a clear starting point. And that's what's been missing. While you draw, just notice how long it takes to start, where you hesitate, when it feels slightly easier. Not to analyze, just to see what's actually happening. When you finish, even if it feels incomplete, just take a moment for reflection. Try asking yourself, what made starting easier? What still feels unclear? Because these answers start to show you where to adjust next. Over time, what many people begin to notice is that starting becomes easier when there's something familiar to return to. Because creativity doesn't sustain itself on good intentions alone. It sustains through simple, repeatable ways of returning. The same object, the same moment, the same way of beginning. It's what I call a return ritual, and we'll be exploring that in the next video. If you're starting to recognize yourself in this stage, wanting to create but not knowing how to begin, I've put together a simple reflection guide to help you understand what's actually getting in the way. It's linked in the description. And if you'd like to stay with this kind of work a little longer, I share longer reflections and practices in my newsletter. This is a quieter, more personal space for us. You're welcome to join if that feels supportive. Starting again doesn't usually fail because you don't care. It fails because the entering point isn't clear enough yet. So instead of asking, what should I create? Try asking, what would make it easier for me to begin today? Until next time, wishing you a grace-filled day and time for discovering a simple starting point you can return to.